You know, one thing that we need to recognize about constitutionalism is that it only works to the extent to which the military of that nation is willing to defend it. All national institutions, including the institution of including the institution of voting itself, it only works because the military supports it. Hayi baba umse- Sorry about those ones. So the key differentiator in any successful country or failed state is the mindset, the mentality of those that are carrying the gun in the country, the military. The court system, angithi, is made up of lawyers, judges, and magistrates who apply their minds to judge issues in society, but they also are given that power or that authority by the by those who are militant in nature, who have got the military apparatus should anyone disrespect the court system. So just like the police, all institutions you can think of in the country, the citizens themselves obey the state because they are afraid of the guns that the military carry. So, so you recognize that without the military, nothing works. The police is under the military. The reason why there is no chaos in the streets is because people are afraid of being arrested. And the police, I mean, in Zimbabwe, some police don't even carry guns like here in South Africa. They carry baton sticks. Or sometimes they carry nothing. One police officer in Zimbabwe can arrest 10 citizens without carrying anything. And the citizens will adhere to that policeman. Why? But it's just one man. It's because they fear the state machinery, which is violent in nature, violent by design. So it is that violence that keeps people in line. Now, the abuse of human rights is abusing that monopoly of violence as the state machinery or as the people that have got the responsibility of running state machinery. All states have got violent apparatus, which is the military. That's what makes a country since time immemorial. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong is when those that run that state material machinery become rotten in the head and they begin to do things that they ought not to do. Okay, they set the tone for the direction of the country and they set the developmental agenda. But since they do not have eternal wisdom, that's why we have got systems in place where expertise are employed so that they can exercise or apply their mind according to their expertise. That is why we have got the judiciary, which has got trained magistrates and judges who understand the law and have got a better judgment than the soldiers. You see, the soldiers don't have to have a good judgment. There's already have only one good judgment to trust the right people. That's why we had democracy, so that the people would elect their representatives. You see, this thing all came from Britain. Britain is called what they call the House of Commons. Okay, the Parliament in Britain is called the House of Commons. Do you know where it came from? Because before the House of Commons, we used to have the King of England, who was the law. For over 100 years, they used to fight. The common people were fighting for political rights, for their voices to be heard. So these common people began to organize themselves according to where they stay, and they would elect people who would go to the house of common people, where these common people will decide on what they want, and then they will talk to the king. Okay, so the king would listen to the House of Commons Today we've got the president, who's the king, listening to what we call parliament. But parliament is a house of common people. That's where it's coming from. It's not for the president to choose for the House of Commons who must represent the common people, because vanhu vari common, it belongs to the common people. It's not, does not belong to the king. Okay, so who is that? Whoever is MP in Zimbabwe is not supposed to be determined by Idim Nangagwa. It's determined by the people. We, the people, decide who do we choose to go and represent us at the House of Commons, that has got the power to speak to the king on behalf of us common people without power. Why do they call them? Why do they call them common? They call them common because they want kind of power. Okay, they don't have real power. They are common people. But then that setup, uh, what's the name of the wars that they fought in England between the 10th and 11th century? I just forgot the name now. I don't have time to Google it. But over 100 years, they've got a name for it. Called the wars of what? It's not the wars of the roses. There's a name for it. I've forgotten them. When I discover, I will tell you. So it took over hundreds of years, the common people fighting, until they established rights. Okay, this thing called human rights came from people fighting authority, because authority never wanted to share power until they established the House of Commons. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because Songezo Chabalala, or Songezo Chabang, is being sent by Idim Nangagwa, is violating that contract that the people have had with the king, that the people have to choose who they want. The king, he should not be interfering in what the people are doing. What Idim Nangagwa is doing, he is raping the system. This is a rape case of democracy. Because what he is doing is he is coming to the common people who are choosing people that they must represent in the House of Commons, in the House of Common Ordinary People, which we now call Parliament. He comes and choose for the people what the people should want. That is the crime of governance that Mnangagwa has committed there. It's a crime of governance. So that crime when violated, has got only one consequence. The consequence is governance failure and a revolt. A revolt come, you see the House of Commons was designed to avert revolutions. So if you are a leader, or a king, whatever, like Itim Nangako, what you want to avoid is a revolution. The reason why successful countries are successful is not because their kings always have a good heart. No, it's because they are afraid of a revolution. So they make sure that the economy works, there's job, there's employment, so that to avert a revolution. But if you rape that system, the system will uh, vomit a revolution. Because if the people cannot, if the common people recognize that they can no longer choose their common representatives to uh, talk to the king on their behalf, they will figure out a way of passing the message to the king. If the system that has been set up is no longer represented, is no longer respected by the king, they will revolt. A revolt does not always mean people are going in the streets and making noise and asking for the head of the king. A revolt may entail civil disobedience, or the people finding other means of having their own representatives, which may not be the traditional means, which may no longer be the traditional parliament. So what Nangagwa is doing, he is unwittingly killing parliament itself. Nangagwa himself, he is killing parliament, which is supposed to protect him. When people no longer view parliament as something that represents them, because they now see, even if we vote Swangers or somebody else, we're just gonna come and recall our representatives. So therefore, the only way we can represent ourselves is for us to organize ourselves and have our representatives, which we choose through our own means that are outside the control of the king. And those representatives will deliver a message to the king our own way. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying that the Mnangagwa himself is the one who's propagating high chances of a revolution against him and his regime, because what has kept their regime intact all along was this semblance of order in Zimbabwe. When in actual fact there's no order, but there's this pretend order. So the more you attack that order, the perceptions in the people is that there's no more order, and therefore the people themselves, okay, I don't have to know what the people are going to do, but the people themselves, through their own thinking, internal thinking capabilities, as an entity, as a group, okay, they will figure out, or they will brew a, a revolt. I do not know how that revolt is going to be expressed, but what I can say that it will no longer be following the official channels of democracy, because the official channels have been disrespected by the one whom these channels were were created to serve. So Mnangagwa was shooting himself on the foot. The revolution, if you lie about, for example, if Chamisa is lying about the revolution, if he's a pretend opposition like other people are accusing him, it cannot last forever, because over time the people will begin to demand change, whether ED or Chamisa or Triple C or ZANU-PF wants or not. And the people that will want that change will want the change now. And if Chamisa cannot deliver that change, the people of Zimbabwe will override the system of Triple C. So if the system of Triple C of made up of lawyers who think that perhaps they are the God anointed people who can who are the only ones who are able to represent Zimbabwe, if they fail to lead the revolution towards a change and keep on dallying, therefore the people themselves will override them and also override ZANU-PF, and chaos will arise, and out of that chaos will come at the end another order that will be the new national order. And in that chaos, all systems break down. Triple C, ZANU-PF, police, the army, everything breaks down, because the one that was supposed to take care of those systems was deliberately raping those systems. So it's got no one else to blame but himself. So as all those systems break down, chaos entails, and then after the chaos, or within the chaos, or in the chaos, something new begins to form, and that new thing that forms becomes the new order, and that new order is going to be determined by the characters that will be leading through that chaos, or who will come up from that chaos. All right, that is my prediction.